Welcome to Forever Exile, the Path of Exile podcast. I am Justin, aka Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days.
This is a special episode 64, Patch Notes Day.
Woo!
And they came out early.
Really early. So nice. We
So
could look
weird.
at them all day.
It's not normal. Clearly, they've had them ready for a bit.
Which is great. Well, didn't
that's a good
Chris
sign.
even mention in the Q&A afterwards that he referenced something like, is it bad that I haven't looked over the patch notes yet?
I would imagine they have somewhat of their patch notes early anyway. They just got to nail them down. But yeah, they came out with the patch notes today. Dev Manifesto was yesterday. So we're going to go through mostly the patch notes. Tyler's got some pointers on the Dev Manifesto. I don't really care about the Dev Manifesto. I like the patch notes better.
No,
And,
I like the Dev Manifesto. It's just, I don't know, it's cool.
It's cool hearing their thoughts.
Yeah,
and
I
sort
want
of
to
their
know.
direction.
I'm a fan. I just like to know. You know, I have no right to know. I have no need to know, but I like to know. So, you know, I'm always, honestly, because they care about the game, I'm fine with everything they have to say. It's not like Electronic Arts making a Dev Manifesto for some game that they're just desperately trying to scrape together cash on and don't care about. Like, they care about the game. So I'm honestly fine with anything they have to say. I just want to know what's going on. And I'm thankful they're a company that shares it in detail, too.
Can we just preface this whole episode 64 with, just like every other Path of Exile expansion, the amount of tears that have been shed on patch note day? And let me just tell you, my son is 19. He's a teenager. And he came up to me the day that yesterday, I think, when the Dev Manifesto came out, about the fact that apparently, and I didn't even read it, I will not read it. Apparently, GGG came out with like an explanation to explain their decisions because of the amount of crying that was happening on whatever Reddit and forums. I mean, it happens every single league. It's literally, there's never been a league where there's not people crying. But this is, when does it just become like, people go find something else? Seriously, go find something else.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go through. First off, I cannot wait for 3.13. I am pumped for this league, for this expansion, all of it.
Agreed.
But I did, out of curiosity, scroll through the patch notes, chat, or posts or whatever on the forums. Sure. It's unbelievable. The only, I mean, it's normal. The people who will take time to complain are the ones who will usually actually write something down. Right? It's not usually the people who are positive or excited that are going to post that.
Right.
But the level of idiocy in some of these posts, and I don't know what the word is, but they all just assume they're deserving of whatever it is that they want.
I know.
Your individual skill that you love didn't get buffed and you're upset, or your skill that you've played forever got nerfed. Everybody's had that happen to them. That's the game. They're trying to balance it out.
And what do you think GGG's doing? You think they're snickering like, haha, we're screwing these people over only to screw them over?
Right. It's just for fun.
Right. Yeah. That's how we run our company.
It drives me crazy.
You brought up ETH though. What would you
just that he told me
say about ETH?
I told you. Okay. He, like, the fact that I'm being told by a 19-year-old that people are being babies and that Grinding Gear Games, because of it, had to put out GGG needs to knock it off. Like, make your decision and then just do it. And stop listening. I get it. They should pay attention to people and the player base and the Reddit and the forums. I totally understand that. But they're like within reason.
You got to have a backbone. Otherwise, the complaining's not going to...
If you make a decision,
stop it.
Then stick with it. Just go with it. Yeah. Guess what? 99% of those idiots are still going to play. They're still going to play. They're going to install the game on Friday or, whatever, log in on Friday, and they're going.
Yeah.
Maybe they only last 3 or 4 weeks, but nothing you were going to do is going to change that type of person's attitude.
Yep.
So I don't like that they backpedal and that they change things and that they come out with these apologies and explanations, and just tell me then what you're going to do and let's go play.
Right. At least this time, though, it wasn't like a heist thing. There was no backpedaling. In this one, it was very polite.
Heist happened after.
Right, true. But in this, all this was a re-explanation of the same thing. It was just a very polite rewording of the Dev Manifesto. And at the end of the day, it was a polite, just shut up and play and you'll realize it's great. You know what I mean? Like GGG was obviously kind because that's what you have to do from their standpoint. But it was just like, the changes are good. It's just because you're not familiar with it that you're whining. So suck it up, get out of your PJs, go for a walk, and you'll figure out that it's going to be okay.
Well, and like stuff gets nerfed every league. That is always going to happen. And I don't know how stupid you have to be. And I'm trying so hard not to be just a giant dick, but if there is a large majority of people that can play a certain way that enables you to be relatively overpowered, granted, I don't care how much currency you had to put into it, why not nerf that a little bit? Like I saw somebody saying, oh, now, and this is the fact that somebody said, well, they're tailoring the game to the 1%. Oh, no, they're not. No, they're not at all. Like, I'm not in that 1% by even like 90% of that.
Good math. Okay, let me get my calculator.
Yeah, do a little calculator. So they're not tailoring it to the 1% or too specifically to the streamers. Like the one thing that overall I will say, and we are going to talk about obviously the whole patch notes and specifically that and a little bit of the manifesto.
Read it word for word.
Oh God, back to episode 1. It's really clear to me that they have a direction for the game right now. And people probably disagree. There may be some people who don't, but my overall, if I ignore the fact that this skill was buffed, this ascendancy was nerfed, and we'll get into it later. I don't want to say what my thought was now, but there was a very clear direction that I got after reading through all of the patch notes for where sort of GGG is going with Path of Exile, and I'm on board.
You're not going to forget it, are you?
Nope, I even wrote it down in one of my notes.
Oh, goodness gracious, look at you.
It's the most notes taking I've taken since we started Forever Exiled.
So with that, though, the Dev Manifesto was their explanation to, and by the way, I am 100% on board with you. This is one of the few things we agree on, how much we hate people.
It's true.
The Dev Manifesto basically just explained that all ascendancies were thoroughly balanced in their opinion, though to me, when you go through the ascendancies and you still have like the Raider with only 6, no, what is it? With like only 3 trees, with only 3 branches, and then others have ton. Like there's still like, you know, a lot less options with some than there are others, but still all ascendancies were thoroughly balanced. Aura stackers are now down to earth, which is good. Impale is now a normal mechanic, not the only mechanic. Minions, which are really, really strong on a regular basis, got brought down again. And I'm an only minion player. I'm fine with that. I'll say that again later.
That was in the manifesto, you said, right?
Right, yeah. So minions were still too strong. They came down a notch again. And not very much of it. Only a very small amount of it compared to, what was it, 3.1 or 310, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. I didn't read the manifesto, but I read the patch notes with the understanding of knowing that people were crying prior to the patch notes. And I was going through the patch notes like, what? Where's the tears coming from? Like, yes, some things got nerfed, but they're not like unplayable. I didn't see a single thing that was changed that was like, wow, that was a serious nerf.
Yeah, totally. As a minion freak, I think it's totally fine. It makes sense to me. And we'll get into the wheres and whys once we talk about the ascendancies. Like usual, some skills and a few keystones were changed because some mechanics were changed, and ascendancies. So some of the keystones, like what was it, Tailwind and I forget the other one that's coming up. Aegis was changed. So apparently everybody knows how Aegis works except for me, because when they explained it in the Dev Manifesto, they were talking to us like we were supposed to know. I think it's only on unique items until now. Now it's in the Elementalist passive tree. I don't know how it works. So I'm trying to read this and figure out what I was supposed to know and then reread this. And the wiki doesn't have an explanation. Anyway, it was a normal manifesto. You know, here's some ups, here's some downs. This is why. And it looked great. It's a game of investment. You know what I mean? I think a lot of the people, whether they like the changes or not, one thing as you go through the patch notes or as we go through the patch notes, you have to remember it's a game of investment. So where they're taking away, there are places to get it back. You know what I mean? And you don't want to be able to get everything you need all in that one place, right? Too much power in a small place is dangerous business.
Well, and I'm one of the things that I'm going to just sort of reference the last 2 leagues in a row. Just for me reading through people's comments, they go, well, this is my build. I've played this build and I can't play this build, or this build got nerfed. And while I can understand that, you play minions, love them. The last 2 leagues in a row, I've played with Ball Lightning, 2 or maybe even 3. Every single league, Ball Lightning's been nerfed until this league. But every single league, Ball Lightning got a nerf. It was still fine.
Yeah.
And for the stuff that people think is this like detrimental, I'm never playing the game anymore, go play your build and you'll probably be fine. I did not see anything that was like just crushing builds. Of course there were nerfs. Some things needed to be brought down a little bit. Maybe we shouldn't use the word nerf. They were equalized. They were brought down to where they should be. That was the whole idea of this. So now, and we are going to let's go into are we about to go into patch notes? Or you still got more?
Yeah. No, okay. Major content was the first thing they added, and I was just going to briefly go through.
Okay, well, let's hit that 1 second. I think one of the dumb things that GGG did, though, was they said huge overhaul to 40 skills. No, I don't think so.
You think it's minor?
They weren't. Yeah, I mean, there were some, but there were not 40 crazy. Like, I made my notes, and I'm excited to talk about some of them. There's no way that 40 of them were like epically stand out, really big change. And
well, maybe I think not.
Cuddles made a really good call, a really good point on Discord, where he said that the problem is if you take a clunky underused skill and you give it more power, it doesn't change it from being a clunky skill.
Right.
So sometimes just buffing the damage is not going to be enough to make a skill, feasible or usable. But regardless, I don't even care. I'm fine with the fact that it wasn't 40 game-breaking new changes or amazing new changes to these skills. They're fine. I can't wait to play.
Let's get into it. If you like them, they'll be good. Yeah.
313.
So the major content that was changed, a lot of the normal stuff. Unique items were added, and as Justin loves, they don't tell you what they are. I do think that's really cool as well. Div cards, all these div cards were from supporters. 11 new maps, which we mentioned a few days ago in our previous podcast. They look PoE2-esque, though we have no PoE2 inside information. They look PoE2-esque to us. Heist and Harvest, goodness gracious, massive additions. And one thing that I actually thought was kind of unique in the general sense, not in the specific GGG sense, but only 1 new active skill and 1 new support gem. Normally there's
lots
more,
or a number of
you know
them.
what I mean? Yeah. So, I like that.
It.
I mean, goodness, they're making core all the alternate qualities. What is that? 600 new gems they were bragging about. So, crazy. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of like the overview of what they did.
If they're doing 1 new skill and 1 new support skill, that means they're putting time into other things. Yeah. So I'm fine with that. Like
putting patch notes out in the early morning Pacific Standard Time. Yes, right. Please.
Yeah, everything. I was fine with that. When I read that, I was like, oh, thank God. That I actually like that, because it's just less like, okay, there's a new skill maybe I want to play with. Well, no.
Yeah.
I don't actually care about either of these 2 skills. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Minor content and features. So we're not going to read patch notes word for word as much as people love that.
We know you've read them word for word. We know you did. That's fine. That's great. No judging.
So my favorite in this section, well, I think it was my favorite, is just that you now open portals to the temple and to Syndicate at your map device. I thought that was cool.
I cheered out loud. I was accidentally broadcasting when the patch notes came out, so I changed my broadcast to read through the patch notes. When I read that, I cheered out loud. I raised oh my goodness. I hate designing my hideout so that Alva and Jun have to be in certain places because of the portals they create. Mm-hmm. This is great. It's like Zana now. So cool.
I can understand like a little bit of hesitation towards this one, because there have been times where I've had my map open and had a temple running, and I can't remember why, but one reason or the other actually bounced between them. Mm-hmm. So I can understand. I did see some people's hesitation with that one. Like, well, is it a toggleable option? Don't make it toggleable. Just leave it. We'll get over it. We'll be fine with it. Yep. I think it's cool. I like it.
Yep.
Plus I get to see my own. I guess actually it'll probably be still their portals.
Yeah.
I hate it now. Not playing.
That's right. But Justin, you'll be able to see it in your new hideout that you're going to get when you get 36 challenges.
I can't wait.
I know. You know what? I really liked this because I always thought it looked goofy. I never cared, but I always thought it looked goofy. But I like that they did this. I wonder if there was a shout out to it or if it just drove them nuts and they finally fixed it. But pets now have a little bit of a delay before they follow you when you move. I like that because before, like, they were changing directions and they were ahead of you as you know.
It's like they were smarter than you and you were following them.
Yeah, it's almost like I have to follow them to know where I should be going in the map. No, I thought that was a nice little touch. Nice
All
little
right.
touch.
Heist changes. The only thing I'm iffy on this one, that they're going to make Rogue Harbor public again. I understand why. 100% I understand why, and it's MTX. It's a sellable thing for them. There's absolutely no other reason to have areas public besides people seeing MTXs. And as long as people can click on the stash, I'm fine with it. But I might play SSF anyway, so what do I care?
You know, I still think it'd be cool though to see all those other people. Can you see other people? I forget. Can you see other people in solo cell phone?
No, not in solo cell phone. No, of course not.
Like even in the
absolutely not. No, you can see NPCs.
I guess that makes sense. But I think it'd be kind of cool to see people and just have trade disabled or something. Yeah, it'd be cool. Solo cell phones becoming a thing, right? Like a legit part of the game, even though they focus on trade and trade's core. A part of the game. I think it'd be cool. Like I like that they're adding the Rogue Harbor to be public again because I like seeing other people's MTX because I'm never going to afford it.
Yeah,
I can't have apparitions. They make me dizzy and nauseous because they just like invade my screen.
But you're fine with someone else having them?
Yeah, because I can just like run away.
I noticed you have some other stuff for heist changes. The rest of them were like meh to me.
Yeah. Well, I thought it'd be cool to point out when the rogue markers are going to start because now it's core, right? Mm-hmm. So now, I mean, in 2 leagues, we're going to forget when this was added to the game. Karai, she shows up and you can start getting rogue markers in Act 6. So that's when it's going to start, which is kind of neat. The smuggler caches now are basically when a quest contract is ready to go or when it's good. Every time you click on a smuggler's cache, you're going to get a quest contract, which is awesome now. Mm-hmm. So good. And you really like this. We touched on it last time, but blueprints, like the blueprint duplication method has been fixed with the reveals. Now, is this this seems to baffle me. Maybe I'm misreading it. Huck grants increased XP to players in heists up to 20%. Mm-hmm. Did he do that before?
No, but that's why nobody used him. I feel like they're just trying to get people to use him now.
Everyone's going to use him. Who doesn't want 20% extra XP? What? Well, I mean, even the items that give XP are like 2%.
I don't think you have it on here, but I think they reduced the overall XP that you could gain in heist now. So he kind of balances it out as you get further in.
They capped it so that each instance of a heist can only get so much XP, right? I remember when we had Octavian, maybe it was the New Year's episode where I think it was where he was saying like, he would just go back and forth to like reinitiate and get all the enemies to come in. That's how he was getting 7 of his levels. And then harvest rewards no longer appear in heists. So don't freak out. It's not broken. It's just because they added harvest to the normal game. Mm-hmm. There you go. Those are my heist changes. I'm excited for heist to be a part of the content and see how it all happens. Pretty sweet.
Harvest changes. Do you like my note?
Crap, we already knew. Moving on. Next.
Yeah, anyway, the harvest stuff to me is just, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited for the crafts. I love that they didn't take any out. Like they didn't remove any of the harvest crafts. I think harvest is going to be a blast.
Yep. They just kind of balanced how you are able to access them. I think it was really smart. From a filter perspective, I love it because I don't have to add anything.
Sure.
Yep. Right? Like there's no seeds, no stations. I don't actually think you could have had stations. I don't think you could drop them, but no seeds, nothing. And there's no content. Like it's just this whole concept was added to the game. And as a filter creator, I'm just like, wait, like I'm doing just as much work at like I'm adding something because I'm quadruple checking that there's nothing I have to add, but there's nothing. It's great. Mm-hmm. I love it. Unlike heist. Oh, goodness gracious. The amount of stuff I have to add from heist. All right. Character balance, right? Did I skip ahead?
No, you're good. For me personally, the Tailwind buff was decreased to 8% instead of 10%. Still awesome. I just saw people complain about it. Guess what? It's still 8% action speed. You'll be fine. You lost 2%.
Do you notice? Yeah. Do you notice, Justin, when you have 27% movement speed instead of 25% movement speed on your boots?
Well, Tailwind's a little different because it affects action speed, so it's not just specifically, but I would bet you cannot tell the difference between that 2%.
Right.
I'm just going to say. And if you say you can, you're a liar and I'll fight you. It'll still be good. It'll still be good. See that? How I said that twice?
You're hilarious. Oh man, I'm glad I made you laugh about that. So now maybe I've always been misreading Far Shot. Maybe it got changed. Now it's getting changed back. But Far Shot, the keystone now causes your projectiles to deal less damage when you're close range, but more damage at a greater range. And that's, that greater range, like when you're farther away, that damage has been increased. But wasn't there always a penalty for being close?
No, I don't think so. It was just if you did more damage, the further they were away. I don't think there was it wasn't
that
like...
seems so pointless to not take. Like, why wouldn't you take that? There's no way that it's always been... Anyway, it doesn't matter. They added the negative. So now there's actually, you want to be far away when you have the Far Shot keystone. But I swear, like a few leagues ago, I know it's not in there now, but I swear a few leagues ago it was in. Anyway. And then one more thing, but I already mentioned it. Aegis effects, such as on the Elementalist tree now. And from like Magna Eclipses, no longer have their recharge timer interrupted by damage if the buff is depleted. Okay. For those that know what Aegis uniques are all about, congratulations. Now that's the different thing. I'm going to learn once the wiki is updated what an Aegis is, how it works, and then I will understand how the Elementalist node is that I'm going to take, even though I don't understand what Aegis does.
It just sounds so good.
Do you remember the long text about like, assumably, and then I'm like, so assumably, and it was like a whole phone screen long of assumptions.
Yep. I don't think I sent you anything back.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
So skill balances, we both did the same thing for the most part, which is just that they added the orb tag to skills. And to me, that just makes me think PoE 2.
Yeah.
I just go, all right, they've got plans for PoE 2 for orbs.
Yeah. And it started way back when they started adding strike tags to melee skills, right? Strike, and then what was the two-handed version? Slam? Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. Is that a tag? Yeah. So it's nice. I think more tags, the better. The more you can focus, the more you can dabble. The skills that got the orb tag are the brand new Hydrosphere, Orb of Storms, Void Sphere, came out last league, I think, Winter Orb, and Frost Bomb. Ooh, got beefy this league, Frost Bomb. And to avoid confusion, which I think is some good forethought, Magma Orb has now been renamed. It is now Rolling Magma.
Okay, just so I can throw this in to show the stupidity of some people, I saw a complaint about the fact that they changed it to Rolling Magma and not Magma Orb. And I feel like their argument was because it bounces and doesn't roll.
Oh.
This is the level that we've reached of what people can complain about.
This is why solo self-found is taking off.
Yeah, that's right.
Because people just nobody wants to play with any of these people.
That's right. All right, let's get into some, what is this, specific skills. So there were quite a few.
Yeah.
Again, this is where I looked at it and I was like, man, this is not a big deal to 40 skill gems. Now, well, let's go through them. But the first thing I'm going to say, because I'm not going through each of them, literally every single aura that has an alternate quality got hit pretty hard.
The alternate quality version.
The alternate qualities, yep.
Yeah, not the vanilla version.
And I could not care less. Couldn't care less.
I didn't see one alternate version gem in Heist the entire time.
See, I did. And I was trying to get a specific version of Anger. I couldn't get it. It's obviously weighted much lower than the rest of them. But I don't care. The normal auras work the same. Like, it's not like they were... The thing that cracks me up is it's not like it's an overall nerf. It's just a reduction from last league because it was the first league they came out, and some of them were insanely strong.
Yeah.
So it made me laugh when I read them. I was like, but again, this doesn't count to you changing 40 when you have like a bajillion alternate skills that you can't count those. No.
It counts. They said they were adding 600 new skill gems, and they did.
Nope, doesn't count. Anyway, so I don't care about each of the individual auras because none of the other auras actually had a change. Like the base auras, I didn't see a single aura that had a change. I don't think any of them did.
I don't remember. Clarity's popping in my head, but I don't remember. Anyway, if it was something that said like Divergent or the other version, I just like skipped it because I didn't pick up one. I never got one that I was looking for, like zombies or anything. So I was just like, nope, skip it. So
Firestorm.
Because I never. Well, what I'm saying is with the alternate quality ones, because I didn't familiarize myself with any, I just skipped them in the patch notes. I'm like, that's nice. The first time I'm going to see them is this new version, so I'm happy with them.
Are they still, I assume, going to be heist-only drops too? So we're going to see them even less.
Which is fine.
I'm fine.
I love the more content. Like the game's so big, I can reach so much, but there's so much I can't reach, and I love that.
Yeah.
I'm never going to stop playing.
Well.
That's it. No, that's it. That was where I was stopping. Yeah, I should. I'm never going to stop playing.
Firestorm got some really sweet buffs. Firestorm looks good.
50% was the old percentage of the initial hit. Now it's 250% more damage.
More damage, yeah. That's awesome. I think Firestorm's going to be really strong.
Yep.
You go, because I'm going to just kick in where you come up with some, and I'll add some other ones.
Okay. I like Flame Blast's change. Flame Blast was originally, if you were caring about the ignite from Flame Blast, you had to channel it the entire time to catch and ignite. Now, no matter when you release your skill, even though you might not be getting the full damage from the full release, if you have to release halfway through your channeling for some reason, you still have a 50% chance to ignite, which is nice. You're just still dealing some dot damage if you're caring about the dot. So I like that. Mm-hmm. Frost Bomb. I like Frost Bomb.
Frost Bomb is awesome.
It does. And I've always used it just as a secondary skill on cast and damage taken 1 or 2, because I want either, the cold damage perk for my cold or just the life regen. Like if I'm doing a dot skill, I just like having the negative to life regen on enemies. I think that's fantastic. But its damage effectiveness went up 100% from 200 to 300%. It deals way more damage, and its radius gets +7 at gem level 20.
I feel like the only thing I used it for a lot of times was that exposure. And now it's got that plus actual damage.
And +7. Like that's huge base damage. I can't think of another skill that actually has listed +7.
Radius,
anyway, that's like think about how big that pulse is going to be. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Glacial Hammer and Heavy Strike, some of the other strike skills, they went up again. Kind of makes me laugh. I feel bad for them if they were to be personified, because you got to have your strike skills that hit only what your weapon's visually reaching need to be really, really heavy hitters for me to, I mean, not me, but for someone to be like, you know what? I like Glacial Hammer more than Earthquake or Ice Crash because, so every time I see every league, those numbers keep going up and up and up and up. And I'm like, well, I hope this time it's enough. Mm-hmm. Like, it'd be cool to see people like really enjoying, like if one of the new people we introduced the last week to the game was like, wow, Glacial Hammer's really strong. This is cool. Yeah, awesome. That'd be cool. But I'm never going to play it. But so hopefully. Did you check out Lightning Warp? I've always been a fan of the prospect of cast and damage taken level 1 with Lightning Warp and Righteous Fire.
And now it goes even further.
That's right. So now Righteous Fire, it just gets a much bigger AoE at the full gem level 20. All you bow fans, good time for this skill to get buffed up a little bit. For those, is it Deadeye? I always think Ranger's the ascendancy for the bow.
Are you talking about the one that got the big buff, this one? Or change?
Yeah, it's Deadeye. Yeah. So anyway, the movement skill Mirror Arrow just has a way better cooldown recovery rate the more you level up the gem. So that's really nice. Spectre's got a spanking.
Yeah, they did.
But I think it's actually, I think it's totally, we'll have to play with it, of course.
See. Yeah.
But here's the thing. You're choosing, it's such a tricky skill for GGG, I would assume. You have hundreds of minions that can be raised as specters, yet you have to have default stats for the specter gem no matter what's raised, and that's got to be really tricky. So GGG lowered the maximum level of your specters, your monster level, from 76 to 72. And they've decreased the accuracy rating as well as they go through. They touched on one of the specters, They of Tull's Snow Cloak. They of Tull's skill, Snow Cloak. They touched on that and their knife throwing skill as well. Anyway, they lowered, the big one is they lowered the specter level from 76 to 72.
Yeah, and I don't know how much that will have an effect on it. With that being said, I don't know what, I would be really curious what the average player's Cyrus damage in POB was that was playing specters. But I saw people who were hitting Gazi, I think, was in 30. I want to say his things went from like 30 to nearly 100 million DPS. So let's say that this tiny change from 76 to 72 is a big deal and it cuts your damage in half. You still have the potential to be doing 15 million Cyrus damage. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think
if the numbers are, if those are legit, yeah.
It'll be hard to see what will happen to a level 72 versus 76 because level does play a big deal in the monster level. But I don't play specters, so I don't personally care. I did see this causing a lot of tears. Yeah, play it. I guarantee you, if they've tested this, there's a reason they went 76 to 72, not to 74 or something else. I feel like they maybe have a pretty good idea that 72 is where that sweet spot is. But if not, I assume they'll edit it.
You hope they've tested it. Apparently, this is the first time they've ever hit alpha. So, which still irks me. But
I thought it still looked fine.
To me, as a minion player who plays with a lot of specters, I think this is great because, yes, I loved that I could have a build that had zero investment in minions. But let's say I 4-linked my specters with minion life, elemental army, which raises their elemental resist by 4, and let's say fortify, right? If I put them in a 4-link, if I was using them for defensive purposes, let's say I was using some monkeys to get frenzy charges, or I was using, I don't know, someone that gave me, what's it called? The proximity shield, something like that. They wouldn't die. With zero minion investment on the tree, they would not die. And to me, in a game where investment is the key, where you need to focus on only 2 or 3 things for your build, that doesn't make sense. They need, if you're not investing in their survivability, they should not survive. And so now when you're going into, let's say you're using those crazy ribbons as your primary attack for offensive specters, they have no life. They shouldn't survive everything. And you need to invest in minion life, minion survivability, minion resists on the tree. And I think that's the point of all of this. They're trying to spread out where your mitigation is because you could achieve insane damage with these, with obviously very specific specters, but with only minion damage investment.
Sure.
And now you have to spread that out. Now your damage is coming down, obviously because there's a few gem levels or you're going from 76 to 72, but now you have to spread out your investment. And now your build is going to be a lot closer to any other build that exists. And that's kind of the point.
Yep.
I could go with an Earthquake champion or an Impale champion, which is still legit. Or I could go Specters, and the choice is hard because they're balanced. I like it.
Scorching Ray got big buffs.
Big bugs.
Made me a little bit excited for RF, actually.
Oh, I like your style.
Yeah. I don't know.
Elementalist would be good for that.
I know. There's a lot of good changes. Like anything fire, it seems a little good this league.
Well, it's funny. As we go through, I don't know if we'll touch on it specifically, but there was a lot of changes to shock and chill, like that were brought down, and no ignite stuff was brought down. And to me, when I'm a player, when I'm ignited as a player, I'm like, what the heck is that on me? Why isn't my health flask working properly? It is strong stuff. And
I think Ignite actually got stronger this league. Overall, I think Ignite is super strong this league.
Especially with some of the stuff. I love that Searing Bond. I've always been a fan of. I've always wanted to implement it, even with my Righteous Fire guide that I have. Sometimes I just throw it on with my Righteous Fire links just to have a good time. It's damage. So its damage at gem level 20 used to be 1750, 1750. It's now 2500.
That's per second too.
It was a huge jump. And it gets the exact same benefits as Scorching Ray or as Righteous Fire. Like it's, its efficacy, which got hit a little bit. It's burning damage.
Efficacy is so much better
focus.
Now. We're going to get into that in a minute.
We are. Yeah. So anyway, Searing Bond, you said, I love how fast you can get to your max stacks now and how little it costs you. When
the mana is cheaper and everything. It's awesome.
Scorching Ray. Yeah. Back to Scorching Ray. Yeah. I like this one. Spectral Throw. Maybe this will make the Scion a little bit easier to start. Spectral Throw. Projectiles from Spectral Throw are now considered 50% larger against monsters when checking for collision. Okay. That's awesome. Now I can hate the skill a little bit less.
I used to love that skill back in the day. I'm surprised you didn't have note of the Spectral Shield Throw changes. I was like, is this enough to make it playable? I don't think so, but at least it's getting some love.
I don't understand the numbers on some of the skills. Like I understand Spectral Shield Throw, and I'm a huge, I don't know what it is. I just got a thing for shields. When Cap uses his shield offensively in the Marvel movies, I want to stand up and cheer. I'm like, woo! I love the like offensive shield stuff. And I'd love to have more of them. Right now, what is there? There's Spectral Shield Throw and Tempest Shield, and I think that's it.
Shield Charge.
Right, which actually got a lot of damage increases. Yeah, and I didn't write it down. But it's the splintering that I don't get, and it's hard to calculate how much damage you're doing once you hit. I can't use it because you have to specifically click. But yeah, it went up a lot, that means. And I like it. I like it. I hope it does really well. I want more active shield offense. Summon Carrion Golem. It was the only golem to use, so they made it so that you choose between your golems. Summon Carrion Golem now deals about 20% less damage at all levels. Stone Golem got the same treatment, but 10% less damage at all levels. Unearth has always baffled me, but not in like just like I'm really curious about this skill. And it's been in our patch note or in our like pushed aside notes for our podcast for like a year. And I think we've only been doing this a year. Unearth, for some reason, specifically raises a Bone Archer. Why? I tried like, okay, is this Bone Archer special? So I went and I'm like using it as specters and I'm running around and I'm like, no, it's what am I missing? Like what is going on? So anyway, Unearth got a lot of really good perks. It's stronger. It went up and down in different categories. Now has added damage effectiveness of 90 from 125, so it went down. Bone Archer corpses created by Unearth now have 30 more life. Well, and I like this part. Well, technically max life since they're, corpses. But so I'm thinking like, what do you use Bone Archers for? What am I missing? Why can't I? Because you can't actually look up Bone Archers in, what's that? PoE Ninja. You have to look up Unearth. But I don't know how they're using them. And a lot of the time it's not minion-based stuff. And I can't find a minion-based one.
Well, it has no minion skill. Like it has no minion tag.
Right. But if you raise them as a specter, they are. So why would you care about Bone? I don't get it. I don't know what's going on. But I really want to know. So anyway, someone let me know. What's the deal with Bone Archers? Why are they great? Why do you want more life?
With Bone Archers?
Oh, maybe what's that skill? Maybe there's a skill where you get rid of their skeleton, right?
Yeah.
So there's that skill where you can like take away life from your skeletons, your minions.
I don't do minions, man. That's you.
No. It's a skill that takes away. And then if you don't have any skeletons, then it takes the life from you. It's a skill. Come on.
It's a skill.
Shut your face and tell me what else you like about skill changes.
My last thing was just, did you see how many changes they made to converting to chaos?
Yeah, I did. And they all went from 50 to 60%.
Right. And we're going to talk about it in one of the other changes coming up. But one thing I really like about it is they made it much easier now to do full conversions to chaos, which is exciting. I like that.
In a way.
In a way, what?
You have to be the Pathfinder. Otherwise, how are you going to do it?
Well, Pathfinder's really easy.
Right. But where's the rest of the 40%?
I was looking at it today with Ethan because I'd have to check, but I just like that they've increased it. I don't even care if it's not possible to get it up. I just like that they've increased it.
I like it too. And unless chaos is overpowered, though, I think they'll end up changing it all to 100% again. Like, look at what they did when the slam skills came out. all those skills went from 50% or 60% conversion to 100% because it was just such a pain in the butt to go and find those very specific nodes that converted everything to 100%. Like they've already gone through that with other skills, right? With the elemental skills, it's all a lot of them, not SRS obviously, but a lot of them went and just jumped to 100% conversion. So I was kind of surprised that these only went up 10%. Because you're still looking at the same circumstance that these slam skills were in prior to those changes. So I kind of expect it in a few leagues to go up to 100%, but we'll see. Maybe it's because chaos is so strong, right? They bypasses energy shields. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe you don't want all your skills to be 100% chaos conversion from GGG standpoint. I don't know.
Because I mean, quite a few of those skills that change too, they do physical damage, I think. Mm-hmm. And you can get that on items. Like there are items in the game that also give you conversion to chaos. So I don't know. Pathfinder's easy because you get it in one button. But there are items in the game that do it as well. Val skill balances. Don't care. There were 2.
It doesn't matter to me. I don't use the 2 skills that were changed. I'm still wondering where Val Zombies is. Have you seen it drop yet?
You don't need it.
I really want a Val Zombies. Love for that to be created and all of a sudden show up on my filter. That'd be pretty sweet. I'll make that big. It's going to have the exact same sound as an Exalt. Val Zombies.
Oh, that'll be annoying. Support gems. So the only one, well, I think I had 2. Efficacy. You mentioned that you thought it was a nerf.
No.
It was reduced.
Well, it went
Maybe that's
down.
what you're saying.
It went down. Yeah.
But that to me is an amazing change to have it go down because now you get it at level 8. That is insane. So you now have, granted, it makes sense that it scales slower, but it does ramp up to the exact same. I think it actually goes up. No, it's the same amount in the end once it's level 20. That's awesome. That means from 8 to 31, you actually have the ability to use it. That is so nice. I love that change.
It's huge because especially the gem level at 20, it doesn't change. So by the time you're fully leveled, like in... I think it's like a Brutus
reward or something. Like it's relatively early. Yeah. That you get that reward.
And
I think that's awesome.
The Witch, Scion, Trickster, one other get it. But yeah, it's nice to have the dot support early.
Yes. 100%.
You know what? Righteous Fire at level 16.
It's doable now.
Who knew? They're saying it's there's a chance. So I like that one.
I love that one.
You go.
Well, my other one was I just like that they're buffed to Impending Doom. Because I don't know if I mentioned it actually when we were talking about the skills. I think I let you just bypass it. Hexblast got a monster buff.
Right. Yeah, it did.
Monster buff. And then Impending Doom, really big buff. I'm like, man, they are loving chaos. I feel like this is a chaos and Ignite league. Screw your minions and the stupid crap, but I feel like Ignite and chaos they just seem to be getting a lot of love. And then you see that ring and you're like, right. It's funny. Ethan was trying to like plan a build and he mentioned to me something about Ignite with chaos. And I'm like, are you seriously trying to build a build off a brand new unique? And he's like, no, I don't think so. I showed him the ring and he's like, crap.
You know what though? I think, was it when the Spell League came out, they really tried to encourage self-casting, and same with this new stuff here. Like there's, you get rewarded for self-casting. Yep. You still can totally play the game with like the more laid back approach. Like I like with cast and damage taken or cast while channeling, that kind of stuff for Spell Slinger. But they do, and I think I remember them saying this, I forget where it might have been, but they want to reward you for self-casting. So if you are going to cast 6 skills like you're going to with your Inquisitor, you'll be rewarded for it. And I kind of like that. You're going through the effort. Why not?
Yep, I agree.
So I had efficacy there. Intensify support and Pinpoint no longer support skills that create minions, just in case.
I'm so curious what people were using Intensify on, but the only thing I could think of is SRS. And then you had Intensify connected to something else that you were getting the benefit from it. I couldn't think of what other skill would you be using that Intensifies benefiting off of that creates minions. I literally couldn't figure that one out.
It depends on their AoE, right? Like you could use it with zombies because they have the zombie slam. So if you're somehow, I don't know what the alternate qualities were for zombies, but if one of them focused on the zombie slam, if you have Infernal Legion, you're getting an AoE tag. I mean, it's already super small, but if you were to add that, or even just with minion instability, you have AoE with minion instability. That's when they explode at low life. So I don't know. I've never looked into it. I'm just spitballing with you. Pinpoint, I don't even know what it does. I don't even think I've looked at it. But one thing we didn't really touch on though is Ballista's got a lot of attention. They're not really my play style. No, but you know, some of them are getting an extra totem at a level 11. Yep. But both active and support ballista gems got some good attention. So that's pretty cool. I really liked them. They to me are very nice. Well, it was a good build. It just sucked. But it still should be good. But no, I like the idea of you're dropping them where you are. You're not like throwing them as a totem. So I don't have to care about where my mouse is. I'm just running around. All I'm doing is staring at my character and I just drop a totem. I just drop a ballista. I love that play style. I am going to do one. After I get off my minion craze in another 15 years, I'm going to try ballistas again. Anyway, those were the supports that got me, that tickled my fancy.
Passive tree balance, don't care. I didn't care about any of the stuff.
It's the smallest I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
There was nothing like, I remember a few leagues ago, it was like, change this cluster, move this around, changed accuracy, changed mana spending, changed minions. No, they didn't tell us about the minion changes, you little sneaks. But anyway, there wasn't anything. Maybe there'll be a couple other surprises. The only stuff that there really was the focus on Impale, which has been like, it was the ailment, if that's what it's called, to play. There was no point to playing something else if you cared about being the best and doing the most damage for easy investment. So Impale got changed, and then Call of Steel got changed along with it, just so that it wasn't Call of Steel, you know, in general got a cooldown. And anyway, yeah, it was really, really small. Kind of cool to be able to like plan your tree today without all the tools being updated yet. Maybe they are now, I don't know.
Let's get into Ascendancies. So I will say, out of the changes coming to 3.13, I think this is where most builds shift.
Yes.
I don't think it's based as much on like the skills and that obviously does a little bit, but I'm really excited to look at these different Ascendancy changes.
Yep.
And, you know, what people play. I'm really excited to see a league that doesn't 30 to 40% of players aren't playing. It doesn't look like, to me at least, the same two builds. So I'm hoping. There just seems like there's so many options. So let's go through them. Deadeye, I didn't put anything for myself in Deadeye just because we've talked about it, we've seen it, and I don't care. It's not something I'll play.
You know what? It's unfortunate, but it's not. And sorry for all the listeners, it's not my play style either anymore. I love the ranged idea. I love the ranged builds, but I kind of have a note in here that's like, maybe they left it too long. Maybe it was just like left behind too long, that no matter how long I wanted to play it, it just wasn't worth it. So I moved on, and now like my preferences have moved on too. And now that it's finally changed, I'm glad it's changed. I'm glad for the people that are excited. Who is it? Brittle, I think, is a huge bow freak. I don't know if this was, I think it was always a Trickster, but maybe it was this Deadeye too. Maybe it'll change someone like that. But for me, like, my interest in the character is long gone. So I hope the changes are good, but I'm not going to touch it.
I'm excited to just see if somebody does something with it. Like, I want to see something on Reddit or on YouTube where somebody does something cool with the Deadeye. So I'm like, okay, maybe I will look into it. Because for me, looking at it, I'm like, there's other Ascendancies I'd rather play.
If Ricochet actually works, sweet.
100% of the time. And
every
off
time.
invisible walls.
What is that? Sex Panther. We're at 60% of the time. Every time.
All right, Elementalist. I'm not. You probably have more detail than I. I love the rework of Elementalist. I am really excited to play around with that.
It makes perfect sense.
Yep.
I love it. Like Chris explained it perfectly. Before, you didn't really focus on one thing. You had to benefit from a whole bunch of stuff, including heralds, including golems. Like, there wasn't a lot of room for just a pure fireball lever. You know what I mean? Now you have so much focus and so much attention and so many options too. Even if you only go with one golem just for whatever perk it is you want, they're so strong. I absolutely love it. I still wish that they explained how Aegis works for people that don't know how that is, but I love, and it's beefy too. There are like defensive and offensive options. It's really cool. Like, even for me with Righteous Fire, I'm considering using the chill branch just for the guaranteed 15% chill on enemies. That's huge, especially when you're looking at something like I could use cast when damage taken level 1 with Wave of Conviction. And if that hit is constantly chilling enemies for 15% effectiveness, along with increasing my damage, and I have 10 bosses and I'm just running around with Righteous Fire, like that's great. That's that extra added defensiveness. So, I mean, there's some really cool bonuses. The guaranteed 15% shock. Oh, I can't even. It's really good. Really,
I like
really
the rework they did for that. Inquisitor, yep. What'd you think?
It's not a style that I'll be able to play. It's not a one button style. I love the concept of it. I know you're
very excited.
Yes. To me, you were talking PoE 2 or something else. This type of focus is pretty specific to both like the swift balance between attacks and spells and like having a nice focus on both and rewarding you for both, but helping you along with it. So I'm excited to see the PoE 2 counterpart to this. To me, for some reason, I think the PoE 2 Ascendancies are going to be mirrors or opposites of what we already have. Like a necro here is like for corpses and dead things. And then over there, maybe there'll be like the beast.
What's the counter to a battle mage?
So anyway, I'm curious to see what the counterpart is for the battle mage in PoE 2, but I like it. I think it's cool. And I love the emphasis still on consecrated ground. I'm glad that stayed.
Raider.
I've always loved the Raider. Mm-hmm. It's too fast for me. The concept of it, I love. I wish, and I'm the only one that'll ever say this, but I wish I could have all that without the movement speed. Like I love it, but it's just too fast for my abilities. But permanent phasing and permanent onslaught. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that's allowed. That should be illegal. That is insane. Like that is so strong that I'm actually fine that Ascendancy only has 3 branches. I still wish it had 2 or 3 more branches, but goodness me, phasing and onslaught permanently. Oh,
yeah, it looks really cool. I love the changes to that one.
Yeah,
I'm on the same page with you. Pathfinder. This is where I talked about easy conversion if you're wanting to go to the 100% chaos. I actually love Master Surgeon, the change to Master Surgeon, which is instead of you getting 30% life recovery from your health flasks, right? 30% increased health recovery. You now just get 6% life recovery when you use a flask, which is awesome because if I don't use a health flask,
right,
there was no benefit to it.
Right.
But now you're getting life recovery no matter what flask you use. I flip and love that. And I'm going to actually bring this up when we go into Trickster, but you brought it up sort of in Raider. And this to me was here's my overarching thought of PoE's direction that I started to see in these Ascendancies. They want to slow things down. I saw so many changes to remove or really reduce movement speed out of the Ascendancies.
Okay.
And I'm all right with that. Like we've talked about it. I know people want to just like fly all over the map, but I'm really curious to see how it plays out because I saw, and we'll go through them as we go through as more of them, but there are so many changes now to movement speed from these Ascendancies. What do you think of Pathfinder?
Well, movement speed on that note is one of the strongest mechanics in the game. If you have movement speed, your survivability, if you can handle it. I can't handle it. So fast movement speed for me, like what's that shrine you click on that you love and I hate that just speeds everything up?
It's the best one ever. The movement speed one.
I don't know what it's called, but you get that stupid like Detroit
Arrows.
Red Wings thing and icon above you, and oh goodness, I die when I'm too fast. I have no idea where I am and I die. But everyone else, the faster you are, the easier it is to live. So it should really be a rare commodity without investment. Like, sure, you get it on your boots, but it shouldn't be all over the tree right now. It's for the most part on the southeast side of the tree. But you got to be picky with it, in my opinion, anyway. Trickster, I actually really liked.
Did you not care about Pathfinder?
Oh, sorry. I thought you moved on to Trickster. My apologies. No. Same thing as you. To me, the thing that stood out with Pathfinder is, they want Pathfinder to be the ascendancy for all chaos skills. Okay.
Yeah. Trickster, what do you think?
A lot of people are going to disagree with me. I really like it.
I did too.
Trickster to me was really, really strong. Like it was the dot skill. You had to work hard to make dots work somewhere else. If you wanted easy dot damage, you went Trickster and easy survivability. One thing that I it was my love-hate relationship between the Scion and the Trickster. The Trickster was you would get really good damage and really good survivability with the Patient Reaper node on Trickster, right? You'd get life per kill, mana per kill, something else per kill, and you would also get a nice damage over time buff. When you go to the Ascendant, you don't get the damage buff. And I'm like, oh, but I love the survivability of that, but where's my damage going to come from? Finally, and now, because to me, again, no one's going to agree with me. To me, the Trickster was just overpowered for damage over time stuff. Now they basically made it like the Ascendant. They removed the damage buff. And I know it looks bad because you don't add something else there, but now that Ascendancy has the same investment requirement for dot that every other Ascendancy has, except you have wicked survivability with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like it. To me now it's even. To me now it's like, okay, I'm going to play a dot build. Which one should I pick? It's not like, what could I make close to the Trickster? So I like it. Do you have any different thoughts?
No, I agree with you. Actually, I'm fine with the nerfs to Trickster or the changes to Trickster. My favorite comment that I made was the change to harness the void. And all I thought of when I read this particular one was just nerds with calculators. And I'm going to read it to you just so you can understand why. I know you would have read it, but now grants 27%. I'm going to read it quickly just to show you how ridiculous it is.
Okay.
Now grants 27% chance to gain 25% of non-chaos damage with hits as extra chaos damage from 25% chance. 13% chance to gain 50% of non-chaos damage with hits as extra chaos damage from 15% chance, and 7% chance to gain 100% of non-chaos damage with hits as extra chaos damage from 5% chance. If you're a new player, this is the dumbest thing you've ever read in your life. It does not make any sense at all. I've played forever, and I have to look at this and be like, the hell did they change? Like, what?
Well, it's hard seeing it when you see when
I need
it's
a graph or something.
You know what though? That when you look at it when it's just on the tree, it makes sense. You have a big chance to get a smaller damage bonus, medium chance to get a medium, or lesser chance to get a medium damage bonus, and then the smallest chance to get a biggest damage bonus.
Yeah, and then Ghost Dance again. This was just another sign.
That's
to
the
me
Ghost
of them.
Shrouds, right? That did get decreased, didn't it?
So you don't have anymore the 3% chance to evade when you have ES, but also you just don't get a straight up 10% movement speed just because you have ES, right. Which I literally feel like I would have to look back, but I feel like almost every Ascendancy that had some buff to movement speed had it reduced or just strictly removed. Like this wasn't added anywhere else. Yeah. They didn't add this back. And I kind of like that. I like that you're not just picking the Ascendancy for movement speed.
Yep.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah. And you're a movement speed freak. This isn't because you're slow. I'm the slow player. Yep. You're the zoom player. And if I don't have a Quicksilver Flask, we're not playing together. So I appreciate you saying that. Champion lost its movement speed as well. Didn't they change the numbers of Ghost Shroud though? I thought I put it in here and they didn't. Something they did. About Ghost Shrouds changed. So
now when you get hit, you lose a Ghost Shroud and recover ES equal to 5% of your evasion, which is actually a buff, your recovery of it, and 3% reduced damage taken per Ghost Shroud from 2%. But you don't have that 3% chance to avoid.
Okay, sure.
To evade in the movement speed. And Assassin. Let's move on to Assassin.
I've always been interested in the skill, but I've never played it. I'm not a crit guy. I'm a minion guy. And so crit and minions they don't coincide in this game. But I'm a huge dodge fan. I love the elusive buff. I don't like things that change and fluctuate, so I haven't really focused on elusive, but elusive got a buff, which excited me, and just flat out, like GGG said, they tried to simplify it instead of specify or like get more specific, but let more people have access to it. So I love that the damage changes are just basically dot multipliers now for poison, which is cool, or chaos.
For me, Assassin, I actually think it's a great boost to their damage and their crit. And they took away, again, every form of movement speed. So they removed the 4% increased movement speed that you would get from the little nodes and the, I think it's 20%. Yeah, 20% movement speed if you've killed recently.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so crazy as I was reading this going, I think I actually noted in a few times in here My note for Assassin was the crit bonuses here seem really good, just slower, suckers.
That's awesome.
I like it. So Saboteur?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Apparently the Saboteur didn't have enough area of effect before, because that got beefed up a lot. It seems.
And traps.
The whole Saboteur, Ascendancy mines and traps. Just we want you to cover the screen. That's it. No, sorry. Let me do that again. We want you to cover the screen. There you go.
Oh, we're done. Okay.
Continuing. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
The Saboteur got some really good love for traps. I know Tarky's probably loving that one because traps have been kind of meh. Like when you have the alternative to pick mines, they are just better. This was a whole lot of love towards traps, and they didn't nerf anything with mines. So
no, mine's got a nice increase too.
Yeah. I think it was good.
That's pretty sweet.
Occultist?
Looks good, man. Looks good. I'm a big witch fan. All three Ascendancies. I like that the branches are spread out now. I'm still picking the same Ascendancies for my guide, but I love that the branches are spread out now. Anytime, like I mentioned this last time, you said the complete opposite. You liked how intertwined the new Deadeye Ascendancy looks. And for me, I want, and I think it's really cool too, but every Ascendancy I choose, I want every single branch to just be one keystone long. That's it. Travel node, keystone,
That's
and then
why
new
you
branch,
like the
Cowstone. And but I like that with the Occultist because it is pretty, like, there are some pretty decent options in there, and it's nice to not have to go through something you don't want to get to something you do. And it did seem like that was kind of a focus with a lot of their changes here. But the big one for me, Profane Bloom, is huge for survivability, especially if you're going CI. If you're going Chaos Inoculation, Profane Bloom, for the few that might not know, Profane Bloom basically gives you a corpse explosion chance. When you kill an enemy, 25% chance for the corpse to explode. Well, now, like, there'd be sometimes I'm running around with my witch and my occultist, and I'm like, come on, Profane Bloom, I need ya. And like that 25% chance just isn't rolling. Well, that 25% chance is now 40%.
That's a big buff.
I feel like I can just jump straight into hardcore. I'm fine. I'm gonna be great. I'm gonna Profane Bloom Cyrus. Take that.
I thought the Occultist changes were great, and Profane Bloom is obviously the big one.
Yeah,
40%. That's awesome. A 15% increase. That's really, really good.
Agreed.
Necromancer. So I don't play the Necromancer, you do, and my notes were just, they were tiny nerfs. People are going to cry anyway.
Yeah.
They were small nerfs. They were nerfs a little bit. Oh, what were we calling them? Equalizers? Balancing
changes? Yeah, I've played Necromancer since the dawn of time. I don't think there's a league where I've played without the Necro, even if I've started with something else. And the Necro recently did get a change. It's been overhauled quite a few times since 2.6 and 3.0, but it's very corpse heavy now, and Corpse Pact lost its damage. So I guess they thought that the damage was just too much, and the perk that it already provides is there. So I guess people that play corpse builds can get their damage easily from somewhere else. The duration node used to be, you would get 30% increased minion duration, and duration skills also had a 30% increased duration. So I guess you could kind of double dip there. If you had a duration minion skill, you'd be getting 60% increased duration. So now they just cut that out and they've mashed it together. I think it's 40% increased duration for duration skills. So that makes sense. That makes sense. Like if you're using something like SRS, and GGG specifically has that at a 5-second duration, well, like to get 60% duration with one node is nuts, right? So to give it 40 for no matter what you're using, that's kind of nice. Or makes sense. Obviously, everybody wants longer duration, but the shorter one makes sense. Every single damage travel node in the Necro lost 5% damage, so it's gone from 15% to 10%. That makes sense to me. Because minions, very, very few minion builds have one minion. You know what I mean? Like a golem build will have 4 golems, right? Maybe more if you're going for all the different uniques. Zombie builds are going to have 8, 9, or 10. Skeletons are going to have 9, 10, or 11. Your specters are going to have 3 or 4, but as everybody knows, specter builds are the strongest, or were the strongest type of minion. You always have a lot of minions. So you have to understand that it's not a per minion basis. You have to think globally. And like I play zombies only, but everybody that's going to play my zombie guy is probably going to add skeletons to it or SRS to it or something else offensive. And then the damage just multiplies. Losing 5% is a way to actually put it on par.
But plus, it's 5% increased damage. And I know a lot of people play and get it. But if you're relatively newer, there's a ginormous difference between increased and more and a 5% increased damage change. You're probably not seeing...
Decrease, yeah.
So, well, whatever. You're not seeing that big difference in your numbers. So,
right. Anyway, I didn't mean to go on so long about Necro, but I thought they were appropriate. I thought they were appropriate.
Hierophant.
I'll be short on the rest.
I'm so sad. They took away the ability to summon 2 totems at the same time.
That's one pretty strong, man.
So to lose that and not moved anywhere. It's just like, nah, it's gone. I think now you can put totem. One of the things gives you 100% increased totem placement speed, which does not make up for it, but it might help a little bit. But Conviction of Power is a weird change. At first, when I first read it, so I'm going to actually just pull it up real quick just so I make sure I get the old version of what it was. So it used to give you 25% chance to gain an endurance charge when you gain a power charge, 15% chance to gain power charge if you or your totem kill an enemy, and then you get 5% reduced elemental damage taken when you have endurance charge, 50% chance to gain the power charge when you summon the totem. It's a whole lot of stuff.
That's the old version.
Right, that's the old version. And I actually liked that. I liked the get an endurance charge when you get, chance to get an endurance charge. It was relatively easy to keep your power and endurance charges up. So I was like, oh man. But their change? So the change now grants +1 to maximum power and max endurance charge, which is great. So now you can have an extra one of each. But +4 to minimum endurance and power charge.
Right.
So you always have at least 4.
That's insane. That is nuts. That's one node that gives you +1 to both, but keeps you at 4. I saw that and I thought I misread it. I'm like, where's the catch? What's going on? Where else did they do that? Like the jug was always baffling to me because the jug, they have all these nodes that basically said you're always going to have endurance charges. Right. Like to me, it was just a complicated way to just say, here, have all your endurance charges and never lose them. Mm-hmm. So that one was always weird to me when you have stuff like the Chieftain that's been changed a few times for endurance charges and other ascendancies where it's like, you got to work pretty hard to get max endurance charges, whereas the jug was just guaranteed. Now you have another ascendancy where it's like, yeah, here you go. Don't worry about your minimum. Don't worry. Not a criticism. I'm just like,
I love it.
What is going on? That's amazing for a caster totem. You know what I mean? You're throwing stuff away, but you have 4 endurance charges
just
and
all
you
the
get
time.
Your crit chance. Yeah.
Not only that, you're playing a friggin' Templar, so you're in the area to quite easily pick up at least 2 additional endurance charges. So
yeah,
I don't know.
2 power charges.
Yep. I think it was awesome. It's the rest of the Hierophant changes were bizarre because they just shifted where things were. They did do some changes, but it was we're taking away the benefit to Arcane Surge, but we're adding it down into this other skill now, and we've swapped where the 2 are. It'll be interesting to actually see it on the tree. Yeah. I don't see myself playing Hierophant, but I do. I really, really like those changes.
Yeah, it's all about which ones you get first and which ones are probably more powerful. They change kind of how Arcane Surge works with the build. I think it's kind of neat.
It does suck to lose the 2 totem placing at once, but 100% increased placement speed, but also always having the charges. Did
they do something about mana? I didn't notice. Totems are huge mana, and so summoning 2 at once was a huge mana saver. I do think summoning 2 totems at once was overpowered, so it makes sense that they remove it. But so it must be the Arcane Surge must give you lots of mana regen or something. I don't know.
There is that still remains though. There is mana back or something, but Guardian, I have nothing to say about Guardian. This is going to be a you thing because I don't play Guardian. My note was I don't know. Are these good? Not sure.
I loved it. There was one that people are going to be pissed about. There's one where the ally branch there. There's one where the Guardian used to give allies damage.
Right.
Now they've gotten rid of the damage, but they've increased the amount of movement, cast, and attack speed you give your allies.
Okay.
So that's cool. That's
pretty
cool.
Decent.
I think that falls in line with because people were primarily using that more for their minions as opposed to party play.
Mm-hmm.
So making you just have to invest in your damage either yourself or, on the tree for your minions. So that does make sense in correspondence with the rest of the changes that they've made throughout the tree. Harmony of Purpose. It's always been one of my favorite skills. It's that one node, it's that one keystone, Harmony of Purpose, that I have that tree that you think is ridiculous, where I just go around the outside of the entire tree and grab every single charge. So it used to be that Harmony of Purpose, every time you hit an enemy, you had a 10% chance to get, you would have a 10% chance to get a random charge. Now, none of the new charges, just the default ones, Endurance, Frenzy, and Power Charge. You'd have a 10% chance every hit. So, you'd use something like Cyclone to try and proc and always get your max charges. For some reason, and I'm very happy with it, now it's 20%. Sweet.
Yeah,
now
awesome.
I don't have to use Cyclone. Now I can use something else that hits pretty quick, but it doesn't have to hit 6 times a second. So I love that. This one is insane, Justin. Listen to this. It used to be, 25% reduced curse effectiveness on you. It's now 80%. Curses are now have an 80% reduced effect on you from 25%. And now it's that same node where you regenerate 30% of your life, but it went from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. That's,
yeah,
80%
it is really good.
Reduced effect of curses. That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Just for general mapping.
But they also took out the fact that every 5 seconds you were just losing an ailment or a curse. So it is good to get that 80% reduced, but you did lose the ability to just every 5 seconds have something disappear.
But they have that in some new notables that they have, and it's also anointable. They have, like, even with war cries, there's a notable. Every time you use a war cry, you use it.
I think I would rather have the 80% reduced effect anyway, because if I 100%. Go into a map that's got a curse on it, taking 80% reduced versus, because it doesn't remove those in every 5 seconds or whatever. So I think it's good.
When did they change curses? Was it just last league? Was it just this league? When they changed curses, it changed how curses are as a map mod as well. And when curses roll as a map mod, it is hard. Like, it is harsh. Vulnerability, and then when the percentage, like I don't know, whatever
increased effect.
Oh my goodness! And then like when you're bleeding, it's fast. And then when you're like taking burn damage, and it's harsh. That is a tempting one, especially for hardcore. That is because it adds more. You can focus on stuff that you can see quickly now with your survivability, like there's just like on screen damage. I like it. I mean, just imagine you roll temporal change and you're like, okay, great, that's awesome. So anyway, I love the Guardian changes. Chieftain, did you care? Wait, is it Chieftain or Chieftain?
Chieftain, they look fine.
It used to be one of my favorites because that used to be where my Righteous Fire Guide was. One of them, the I could never say these. Tassalio Keystone no longer gives you life regen. It was a nice 2% bonus. Now it's gone. And I mean, not a criticism, but it's gone. So it's a little kick in the pants for the RF lovers down in Chieftain Land.
But in the same one, they also buffed up the fact that you take now 15% of the physical damage is fire damage from 10. Now, granted, that's not you regenning life, but to be able to take an additional 5% of the physical damage as fire damage is a really big deal, because you're probably taking no fire damage or very little. If you're going in that Ascendancy.
In that Ascendancy, you have the option to get just a flat 100% fire resist, which is really nice. It doesn't cap you. It gives you just like having a 100% fire resist mod. But yeah, it's still, but it was a very totem heavy change as far as I noticed anyway, which is cool. That makes sense to me. Juggy. Do you like the Juggy?
I didn't care at all. I didn't even put the Juggernaut on my list.
It gained life regen. Like it needs more help. it's super beefy. It has like a whole tree of endurance charges that say, you know what? Here's a complicated way to just always have endurance charges. Here you go. Oh, by the way, some of your travel nodes. And no, those are on travel nodes.
No, it's just the small passive. Just the one that's before Unbreakable.
Okay,
but it's still nice.
Still nice. Yeah, because you're already taking 0 damage.
Yeah.
So let's just cap it. Anyway, I like it. I thought it was fun. It was like, oh, wow. I have nothing written for the Berserker.
Berserker didn't add that one to my list either. I don't. The thing is, I never have played them. I never really got big into the whole blitz like charges and stuff. And the rage thing, I tried it in the very beginning, like when they were brand new. It just doesn't speak to me, you know? It doesn't speak to me.
I love rage, how it works. I had it on my trigger happy guide for a while. I absolutely love how it works. But honestly, to me, Berserker and Slayer, I get them mixed up all the time. I don't know the difference. It's just not my play style. I would rather
play Slayer anyway.
It's not a criticism to how it works. I've never been interested in it, and so I've never really looked hard into it. So apologies to all those who love those two classes and were depending on us for feedback.
Probably weren't. Gladiator looks cool though, like definitely heavy into the bleed. Like they got a lot of buffs.
Yeah, that's cool.
Your attacks to just straight up have a 50% chance to bleed and 25% chance to cause those bleeding enemies to be blinded.
Yeah,
that's actually pretty strong. Like 100% bleed strong. Is super easy.
Yeah.
Super easy now.
What was the blind chance?
25% to blind a bleeding enemy, which was only 10% before.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when you're focusing on bleed, your bleed chance is going to be crazy. Here's the thing. Blind support, which is a very, in my opinion, pretty pointless skill, you know, not point. It gives 10% chance to blind. That's blind support. This is 25%. Like that's a support skill that should be super high because it does nothing for you besides that. And yet here's this that's giving you damage and you get 25%. Like that's crazy. That's cool. I was actually like, I liked the bleed bump. I was disappointed. They got rid of, there was one mod where you got 40% increased damage if you haven't taken damage within a certain time frame. I think it said recently. As I played Gladi as a max block build, and not with glancing blows or any of that garbage, but just like a full max block build. And one of the problems with that is block nodes are spread out so much throughout the tree that it's a huge focus, it's a huge investment, but you're scraping for damage. Base damage anyway, without needing something epic to make your damage acceptable. You're really scraping for damage after you go for block, after you go for life. There's really not much left. And so your damage bonuses were really dependent on your ascendancy tree. And if your block chance is at 79%, which it typically would be as a gladiator, you're not taking damage a lot. And where are you going to get your damage from? Right? You can't use different effects like cast will damage taken. Only 21% of your hits are going through, or of their hits are going through. And so having that node where you had 40% increased damage, if you've basically been blocking for 4 seconds straight, was really nice. And the one thing that I found with max block builds was they lack damage. They were tanky, they were great, but your battles would last a really long time. And now they last a little bit longer. Now, that being said, I didn't look into where else you would get the damage, but I found through my experience with how I like to make my builds, I was lacking for damage. And so I don't know, I'd have to really look into where else you would get that 40% or something else, but maybe because the max block tree is 3 keystones. So basically at that point, you're picking only one of the bleed nodes, or you're going with challenger charges after that. And that's hard. Like challenger charges are just basically a really nice constant buff as opposed to only one out of the 2 keystones for bleed. So I don't know. We'll see. I haven't looked into it very much. This was just as I noticed as we saw the post for the Ascendancy changes. So champion. They got rid of movement speed. They did. They did. It seems like they kicked the crap out of this one, but they reiterated a lot that they had real focus on this. So for Ascendancies that had too much going on, they said that they were going to focus on it. So where there were things that were lost, there were big increases. Let's see. It lost life regen on Taunt, which I loved. So it's too bad to see that go. There was a node where if you had Fortify, you had 1,000 armor and evasion. Maybe it was just armor, I forget. Now that's halved. So now if you have Fortify, it's 500. Right. It lost its Impale perks, right? So now all your Impale perks are just from the tree. 1. Yeah. I mean, the additional Impale was dropped to 1, but yes, you're right. It did the 20% chance to impale enemies. They lost that. Right. So now your Impale chance is the same as everybody else's. And then there was an aura that it naturally provided. It gave 8% movement speed to all your allies, 8 or 12% movement speed.
12%, yeah.
So it lost that. The thing I love about the champion, though, is it's a team player. It's like the Guardian, but just like, come at me, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about taunt. It's all about armor. It's like, give me the damage. And so I've always loved that it has aura perks. Always loved that it has aura perks. Its aura perk now is 30% increased aura effectiveness. No one else has that. Not even the Guardian. That's insane. That is, I love that addition so much. And it gained improvement to all of its taunt perks. So outside of life regen, taunting is now more valuable, which is great. That's what I'm going to be doing with you. I'm going to be a champ taunter.
Can't wait.
Lucky. Yep. You're going to have to do all the damage because I'm going to be using Molten Shell with cast. Well, damage taken. When damage taken. Go ahead. Oh, Slayer. I wrote nothing.
Slayer looks awesome.
Sweet.
Increases to crit. Attack speed while leeching. I like them. Again, there's a few things that are changed that, you know, I didn't see anything as like a big, like, oh, so sad. Yeah. I like it. And I've loved Slayer. So I like the changes to Slayer. I love anything that increases crit and leech.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, you are a leech fan until you get into your trials.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely true.
I wish I had my life flask going. Oh, where are my ads? I need my ads.
And then Ascendant, I just wrote, who cares?
You would. It is so strong. I love it.
Stupidest one to read through. I read through them and I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. It's the dumbest class in the game anyway.
No, I absolutely love it. I honestly wish it was the strongest and people had a hard time not playing it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I didn't write down anything specific. To me, the Ascendant is like looking at every Ascendancy over and over. Like, it's so busy and it's complicated. And then the combinations are endless. To me, it's my favorite Ascendancy. I do never play it, though. I guess our next league, I do have to play it until I hit 75, which I'm totally fine with. But I really like it. I didn't write down anything specific for it, but I just love that it's so complicated and endless with its complications. And Chris said he's happy with it. He says he thinks it's in a really good place. So I trust the brother, yo.
They didn't do this, but what would have been really funny is if they took all those movement skills that they removed and put them into the Scion. And they're like, well, if you want them, you got to play the worst class in the game. That's the only way you'll get them. Anyway, they didn't do that. And so my overall look at the Ascendancies, I really, really like them. And I really feel that there was I'm not sure if there's other things that are shifting or if there's other things happening, but to me, there was a really clear change in all of the Ascendancies to remove and diminish the movement speed you're getting from your Ascendancy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm curious because there's going to be a few more leagues until PoE 2. I mean, as a guess, and it'll be neat to see the tree changes that come from that, right? Now, if we remember, okay, movement speed was taken away from all these Ascendancies. Okay, now what if, there's another movement speed change on the tree next league or the league after that? It'd be cool to kind of be able to remember these conversations as we go through, but we'll probably just in the future just complain about it. And then
do you know why I like them doing this though? I like them doing this because it does not become part of choosing an Ascendancy now. It's not like, well, this Ascendancy seems like it'd be a lot of fun. I can get some damage. I just can't get that extra 20% movement speed, which I could go if I went this other Ascendancy. And in a lot of past leagues, that's it. There is bigger value to that movement speed. Now they've taken that away and said, no, you don't get that option anymore. Now you're looking at it strictly from utility, damage, defense. Like, I actually quite like it.
Cool. So. That's awesome. Yeah, I loved all the changes too. To me, it seemed like when you look at your Ascendancy, maybe it went up, maybe it went down, right? If you were like the champion or the necromancer, you're like, or the trickster, you're like, oh no, like, and then I could see you freaking out. But when you look at it from the global scale, they look even.
Freaking Google. They do look even. And one thing that I like is that it's making people shift a little bit. Now, you're never going to shift the people who are just bitches and want to complain and want to be upset about it. But I've had conversations, and I have not had a whole lot of time to have conversations with people, but people who have almost always played a certain type of way and are going, man, maybe I need to start looking at like the occultist. Like maybe there's some different things I should be checking out. That's fine. And I'm okay with that.
And even if you don't play it, you've considered it now. That's the point. Yeah. You weighed your options between two instead of having a clear-cut favorite for something. Now, obviously, they have their specifications. So, you know, there are bleed or chaos-specific people. There's, you know, poison, crit, minions, allies.
That should always be the case. Always.
Right.
Because that's why you're picking an Ascendancy.
Right. Yeah. But there are other aspects to builds that people want to build on. I mean, it's Path of Exile. It's an endless theory crafting game. That's why we all love it. And now it really does seem like, holy smokes, what am I going to do?
So many options.
I've had with my, I just recently switched my Chieftain Righteous Fire guide that was there for, I don't know, 6 leagues or whatever. I recently switched it to the Elementalist.
Sure.
Most of out of the thousands of people that click on it, you have a few people that post, right? Out of those few people that post, most of them are like, oh, I never thought of this. Wow, this is kind of like a meme build. What do you, how do you do that? You know, now I've had like all of a sudden, it's just as busy as it is at the beginning of a league. And it's like, hey, how do you do this? Oh, how's it going? How did it work last league? Like people are really considering it. And that's just an example of already, even without gameplay example and people trying it out, how efficient this balance change has worked. People are looking at stuff that they never considered for because the options are even, in my opinion, anyway.
Yep. All right. Item balance. I cared about one thing that was unique.
Cool. I cared about lots, but I only wrote 2 things down.
Only one stood out to me, and that's that you can do a 5-to-1 now on corrupted items. Talismans, breach rings. That's cool.
It is cool. Yeah, I'm excited. I wonder why it's 5-to-1 instead of, most other things are 3-to-1, aren't they? Oh no, I guess there's like a 7 to. Oh no, there's other combos and stuff. I wonder why they chose 5-to-1. But I think it's. I think that's awesome that there's another option. If you don't like what rolled, yeah, corrupt's corrupted. Like you're screwed, or you're not. It's either great or it sucks, and the only option's vendoring it. So it's nice that there's another option to be like, okay, well, let's see if I can get another corruptible option.
Can you do that with Val skill gems?
Val skill gems trade in for Val orbs. So it's 7, I think it's 7 Val skill gems and 1 Val fragment. And then you get a Val orb.
I just couldn't figure out if they always drop as corrupted.
The Val ones, you can't change. Yeah.
So it's all, I'm just curious if that falls into this. It says on items with outputs that are always corrupted.
Maybe it did say. Yeah, I wonder if gems are considered items.
Yeah,
or
it might not be an item. That's true.
I don't remember how it works.
I don't think it's a currency, but it might be something completely different outside of item.
Yeah.
Anything else stand out to you?
I think they are items because in my filter, when I allow normal items to be shown to a certain level, gems are shown as well. So I think they are items in terms of equipable or not. The other thing I had, which I was really surprised didn't exist, but I'm glad it now does, because originally I thought favoriting a map was just a load of crap. Like I did it and I was efficient about it, but I'm like, I've had Racecourse favorited since favorites existed, and I'm not getting, I have 2 Racecourses and I don't do them. I save them for my guide example videos and I don't have enough. So here's why. Maps dropped by special sources such as deterministic chests or league rewards like those found in the mine, like Azurite Mine or the Temple of Azawatl. They now they use your atlas to determine your map drops. Therefore, they drop maps that have been raised above their base tier due to the presence of watchstones. They consider your favorite percentages. So that's nice, because there was a lot of content you're doing on the side, whether it's in Heist, whether it's in the mines, whether it's, no matter where it is, Blight.
Temple even, for sure, like, with the map room.
Yeah. So that's nice. It kind of bugs me that it didn't happen before, but it's not like I would know. You know, it's a small math percentage behind the scenes, and I just thought that favoriting something just, well.
You can't be mad at something in the past. You just can't. That's right.
So I guess I just needed to try harder, I guess. So anyway, I'm glad that's there. I think that's really cool, because now I know, as long as it's not going to be glitched, now I know it's actually impacting everything I'm doing. So sweet. To me, that's a QOL thing.
Cluster jewel balance was my second least cared about changes.
What are cluster jewels?
Yeah, Justin doesn't care.
Give me some delirium and I'll care about cluster jewels. I know a lot of people do it, and there's huge builds around them.
Thing I know a lot of that was affected. Don't care. It was my second least cared about one. We're getting close to my first.
I see so few delirium encounters that I'm even hesitant to have a cluster jewel socket in my planned tree anymore.
Yep. Unique item balance. This is where they list. This was probably one of the shortest unique item balance lists.
Yeah, true.
The only one I put in was the Alberon's Warpath. It was the replica boots. They made it so you need more strength now. So 30 more strength per chaos damage. Oh, okay. So you gotta get some more STR.
There's a kind of a cool monster change. Sometimes I glaze over them, but I always like that they balance monsters along with our character stuff. So some monsters apparently use Enduring Cry. That's cool. I wouldn't recognize it, but they do. Enduring Cry used by monsters has been given a cooldown. Awesome. Cool. I wish I had the non-cooldown version. And it's had its healing amount standardized. So it's less ridiculous now, as per GGG. And so that's nice. That's nice. That's it. That's my monster change. I'm glad it's been standardized.
So some atlas and map changes, and there is one in here that I read and I was like, what? So it is Conqueror influenced maps may now experience an invasion by Cyrus himself. I want to know what on earth that means. Like, does he just, I'm trying to think in my head, does he pop in like how Baron pops in and makes some comments and like spawn some mobs? Or does he, there's a really great, these are my favorite comments in the forums right now amongst all the people that are whining and crying, is people quoting that part and then just showing like the die with an exclamation mark and then, like return to checkpoint.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my goodness. I hope it's not combat, or I hope it's not as stupid as the fight. You know what I mean? Or it's like an easy version that lets me practice it. That would be nice.
Oh, that wouldn't be bad. If you only had like one move.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was, and he was on the same screen as me. That would be really nice. I hope it's kind of like just how the Shaper would come in, you know, when like the Shaper would pause the screen and he would float across.
That would be
like,
really cool.
Or whatever he would say.
Yep.
That would be cool if that was it. It sounds like invasion, though. It doesn't sound like
I assume he's going to try and fight me.
So I hate everything to do with the Cyrus fight. So the prospect of more Cyrus is not exciting to me, especially when I'm excited to go through the Conqueror missions because I actually like the Conqueror boss battles and the Conqueror maps. So to have that spoiled by the one part of the game that I hate, obviously we haven't experienced it. Hopefully it's legit if it is combat based. But I do love that there's other people out there that feel our pain. I
just think it's a fun change. I don't know what it actually means,
that is
but
true.
When I read it, I was not expecting anything like that. That totally took me by surprise.
Love the Xana changes. Did you see those?
Nope.
Xana can now offer missions involving Metamorph, Delirium, Blight, and Harvest mechanics.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you're picking your Xana maps, I think that's fantastic. Because normally I ignore what the reward is and I'm looking at the bottom like, is this time?
Sure.
Do I have to touch those stupid standing stones? Mm-hmm. Because if this is 160% map, but I have to touch standing stones, I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the reward was irrelevant if I hated the prospects. So to me, now that's awesome.
That is fun.
Second I see Metamorph or Harvest or Delirium, because there's no other way to find it apparently, I'm in. Blight, I won't, because on console, Blight's ridiculous.
You won't be playing on console. Who are you kidding?
That's true. That's true.
They made some changes that I just wrote a little note saying that I thought this was actually pretty good for new players as well, if you get to end game and are playing maps. But Kirik will now inform you if your Atlas state is preventing a Conqueror from appearing, as well as how to fix it, which I think that as well as how to fix it is a really big deal.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't know you could get your Atlas to a state of a Conqueror not showing up. That's interesting.
And he will also tell you which region a Conqueror might be hiding in if you ask him.
Oh, well, yeah. I think that's kind of neat, encouraging. Like for me, I've said this 100 times recently. I've always wanted to get into the lore of the game, but I'm too excited to get into combat, which I guess is a good testament to the combat in the game. So I don't know anything about the lore, even though I've been playing for years. This is kind of like a step in the direction of, talk to them.
Well, they want you to talk to Kirik because they're going to kill Xana. It's coming, I'm telling you.
Well, it's cool. It's neat to interact with the character for a means beyond a reward.
Sure.
Right? Like they're actually helping you with something. Like when Xana's like, what does she say to you? Like, how's your mapping or how are you handling life, Exile? It's like, well, you could be doing something instead of nothing, lady.
Yeah, give me a
Thanks
map
for
I
helping
need,
out.
cow.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and not for 20 chaos, please.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, so it's kind of cool that they're doing something edifying with it. Now, you have this note. I have this note. This is the best.
Everybody has this note.
Oh my goodness, this is the best.
Do it. Go for it.
Okay. At the same time, no, don't. Hall of Grandmasters has been removed from the Atlas. I can finally get 100% completion on the Atlas. It can still drop. It still exists. Is this like a supporter thing? Did a supporter make this long time ago and that's why they can't get rid of it?
Well, that's all. There's like all the players in there paid to be those Grandmasters.
Okay, so that's
right.
why
it has to be still there.
This is the way that they get rid of the map without getting rid of the paid perks. Okay, awesome. Because it can still drop as loot. If you're one of those insane people that like Hall of Grandmasters, you can still get it.
You just don't get jack squat.
I don't have to care about it anymore. And that is fantastic. It doesn't count towards Atlas completion.
I was surprised. I actually really liked the fact that they full on took it off the Atlas. Like I had read, they had said something about the fact that it wasn't going to count towards completion anymore. A couple days ago, in fact, we already knew that. And we thought, oh, that's amazing. Thank goodness. I didn't expect that also meant they would just full on remove it from the Atlas and it just would not be there anymore. Love it.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever see that stupid map.
Agreed. I don't think I have more maps in my map stash tab than I do Hall of Grandmasters. I get it. It goes in and it stays.
I would bet that's the only map in the entire game that I've only ever beat one time. I would bet I've beat every single other map more than one time.
Well, probably.
I hate that map.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Did you see the Xana League mods available for 3.13?
They always excite me because Fortune Favors the Brave is just, I love that they have it. Fortune Favors the Brave is such a nice but perfect PoE mod. But I like them. I like all of them except for 2.
Do you want to know what I like?
Tell me.
The most expensive one is 6 chaos and not 16 chaos.
Yeah, no kidding. What was 16 last
Delirium.
time? It was.
What a dumb one. What a stupid one. They took it out.
Legion and Beyond are there. I like warbands. I just like having that extra stuff. I think it's great, especially now with the Atlas passive tree. If you like that kind of stuff, warbands, adding more warbands is great. Having Ambush, which is 3 extra strong boxes, but if you have that along with the Atlas passive tree that makes all of your strong boxes rare, oh, how cool is that? And then these are the ones I don't care for. Domination has 4 extra shrines. I don't care about that. And I've never cared about Kadiro. For a normal player that's put in thousands of hours, I've never what are you going to have? Like I bought Chaos from him. Okay, that was a good deal. That's basically free. I'm not saving for anything.
I'm always scared he's going to have
even if I got a headhunter, I'm like, even the headhunter, that's not for me. Like I'm not rushing to the next rare. I'm looking at every item that drops as I pick it up. You know what I mean? Like I'm just, give me the currency, give me the exalts, or what are those like new orbs? You know, like the Maven orb. I'll take that because that's the only time I'll get it. I like them. I like it. I should start using Fortune Favors the Brave on a regular basis.
I thought you did.
No, I just like the prospect of it.
You like the idea of it.
Yeah, no, I save my chaos. That's right. No, I save my chaos. But I really I'm like, oh, there's Fortune Favors the Brave. I like that one. Yeah.
UI improvements. I just like that they have the quest tracker now has expandable sections.
Oh,
it's awesome.
How great is that?
Yep.
I think that's so good because one thing that I've always loved, I mean, as a broadcaster, I want to know where I'm going and I want to tab up, but I also want my mini. Anyway,
it's a great change.
I love it. I love it. As long as it doesn't, I'd love to make it small, but click on it anytime I want. I'm curious what it'll be like on console. How do you access that?
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. That's right. I do. You can now filter cluster jewels by the number of small passives they have on the filter. So if you only care for like a large cluster jewel that has the smallest amount of passives available, you can filter it. So if you always ignore the largest of large cluster jewels, you can exclude them.
Yep.
I mean, I don't even know what a cluster jewel looks like. I definitely do. But
I don't want those.
That is so awesome. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, and then you are now warned when changing your hideout, when you have map portals open, that doing so will destroy your portals. Should have been there from the very beginning.
No,
but
who cares?
It's in the game.
Who is changing their hideout while they're in the middle of a map? What is wrong with you? What? The only thing
people get distracted. There's 1,000 things to do in this game. You get distracted. You're like in a map and then you
clearly
forget.
Didn't
you're like,
mean much to you. Then.
Oh no! You're full. It was such good quantity that you're already full. You've used a portal. You've come back. You've vendored. You've done that. And then you're like, oh, wait a second. I thought I wanted to change it. No, shut it. It's a good warning to have, you prick.
All right, my most favorite change. PvP changes. Nobody cares. That's my only note. For both of us, I didn't even give you the ability to add a note. I just wrote, nobody cares.
And then you locked it. That was it.
Yep. Bug fixes is our last part. Okay, there was one that made me laugh and I just added whoopee to the end of it, which is that apparently they fixed a bug that could cause Cyrus to not use certain skills during his last phase. So now rejoice in the fact that he will use all of his skills.
I'm a little disappointed I never got to that final stage to take advantage of the bugged final stage.
Yep. But it's
so
fixed.
That's now I'm out of luck. Sticking to Oriath for my epilogue. You're on a beach, right? After you beat him?
I'm not telling you. I get there. Then you'll find out.
Wow. Okay. They fixed this one. I never got into any alternate gem qualities because none showed up that I liked or that were for my build, but fixed a number of alternate quality skills and support gem effects, failing to display their correct effects and various amounts of quality. What? How did that last 3 months?
Well, there were 600 of them.
And?
Nobody cares.
If you're going to release 600 and release them like the failing to display the correct effects and the proper quantity.
It's just a display thing. Who cares?
Who needs the information
they don't
they're
need
looking
to see
for?
It.
They fixed strongbox locations.
Yes, you can't
for the
get
most
stuck.
part. So now, they can't get stuck. You can't get stuck. They're just everybody's happier. That's nice. Fixed an exploit that allowed you to endlessly stack certain stats from auras.
This is why people are crying, I guess. This
welcome to the real world of Path of Exile, where anyway, I couldn't think of anything funny.
It was a good one.
We're just going to move on. Thank you. Fixed a bug where the debilitate debuff was using a default icon. Now, lucky it just has its own special icon just for it. So that's nice. I like it. I remember a long time ago when I was being I was like an aura buffer and stuff, and I was the guardian. A lot of the Ascendancy notes had all the same icon, and I was really disappointed with it. I was excited to have a screen full of icons, and there's like 2 point something. Guardian had all the same ones, so it's nice. They fixed it just for it. Way to go, debilitate. And this one made me laugh. Possibly fixed a crash on Mac OS clients that prevented the game starting if your hardware didn't support AVX2. I like that. Possibly
it might
fixed a crash.
I
like that.
I had two more. One was fixed a bug which caused Discipline to grant twice as much increased energy shield recharge raises as should have. I was like, I wish I knew about that one. That would have been awesome.
Sneaks.
And then this one was my favorite one because this is not a bug. This should be a feature, and they need to figure out how to do this. Fixed a bug where you could trigger your own traps by throwing them through your flame wall.
Perfect.
It should.
Yeah.
I threw a trap through a friggin' piece of fire. It should trigger.
It's not a fireplace, not like a little candle.
It's a flame wall.
Yeah.
What trap exists and lasts through a flame wall? Right. I just love that that's a thing. I thought that was so cool when I read that. I was like, that would have been so fun.
Perfect.
Yeah.
At least the fire ones.
I don't even care what it is. I think they should all do it. Anyway, that was my last bug. All right. So this is pretty much all of the patch that we care about, talked about.
It's amazing. Yeah.
What's your overall thought for 313? What are we closing out this episode with? What's your thought going into 313?
Now, we obviously haven't played it. We don't see what people have come up with or what they found, how easy certain things are to get or not get with, because there's a lot being added to the game. But the prospect is this is the most balanced it's been. Like, I don't really use PoE Ninja a lot, but one of the things I think I'm most excited for is to go into PoE Ninja and see like even numbers across the board.
Or more, even
at least like even for the first 6. You know what I mean? I to me, that's really cool. I'm sticking with my builds. I always play my guides. I'll be playing a new build with you, but that's because I have the opportunity to. But I'm like the changes, harvest crafting, heist, the bosses. Like we didn't even touch about bosses because that was just, they're just going to happen. It's not a patch notes thing. Like, I can't tell you the last time I've been so excited. So many of these changes are for me, like my playstyle, my love. So it's hard to pinpoint, man. I really can't. How about you?
So my overall thought for 313 is it's one of the more excited I've been for a league. Okay. I think Grinding Gear Games really nailed this patch. I think they did a really good job of trying to level the playing field as much as they can and to try and make it so it's more of a choice now and you don't feel drawn towards a certain direction to play. Totally. I think they knocked that out of the park. I think they shouldn't have sold themselves so heavy on the whole reworking of 40 skill gems because it was a little flat on that part. But overall, I am super pumped for this league. Endgame, ritual, it all seems so much fun.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's cool that ritual is kind of like arena-like, just like the end game boss fights that are being introduced seem to be like. It's like they're both kind of arena style mentalities. You know what I mean? You're stuck in your ritual till it's gone or you're dead. You're stuck in your boss fight until, you've used up your 6 portals. Like they're similar. I kind of like it.
I like the fact that at first glance, ritual is a very simplistic league.
Yeah.
The mechanic behind it's not confusing. There's not all this extra stuff. Right. You just kill stuff and you get stuff when you kill stuff. That's what you should do. And also, if you've been the type of person who's been around in PoE for a while, especially the last little bit, and a lot of people have wanted them to do some cleanup, to balance, to fix, this was a great league for that. They didn't have this over crazy league mechanic. They did have a pretty crazy endgame thing, but they did a ton of fixes. The Ascendancy tree seems way more balanced than I've ever seen it. And I think that's good.
Yeah.
I'll take that over some crazy league that doesn't work for the first few weeks.
Any day.
Yeah. So I think they did a great job.
You know what's going to be interesting is currency. Like ritual adds a unique perspective to currency and when and how you get it and how affordable it is. A harvest is introducing a new perspective to currency, right? Like, you don't have to spend as much now because you're getting whatever it is that you're working towards in the garden or whatever you luck out with. Heist, of course, adds certain aspects to currency because of how you can shape your stuff and the blueprints. Like currency is taking a big, there's a lot being added this league that's very currency heavy. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any changes to how things go. You know how people are like always talking about Exalt prices on the trade market and stuff. Oh, I've never seen it so low. Oh, I've never seen it so high. That's be pretty interesting because there's a lot of, there's a lot of currency changes. Neat.
I'm excited. Episode 65, we will be releasing we'll be recording once we've played for a few hours, hopefully. This is our bonus episode 64 on a freaking Tuesday of the week, which is awesome.
Thanks for making time, sir.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening and joining us for episode 64. Hopefully you guys have a blast as 3.13 comes out on Friday. Our next episode will come out on Sunday. And we'll see you guys in episode 65. This has been episode 64, Forever Exiled, the Path of Exile podcast. I'm Justin, a.k.a. Tags.
And I'm Tyler, Record of Days.
You guys rock for joining us for this episode. There's information down below. foreverexiled.com is our website. We're on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We got our Discord link down below and our Patreon link, which gets you access into After Dark, which there is no After Dark for this episode. There will be next episode 65, though. Thank you guys again for joining us.
Peace out. Oh, man. You know what they did? This is what they did. They're like, well, we're getting rid of Hall of Grandmasters, so we got to throw Cyrus in the map. We got to throw him out more. That's the counter.